found out today I'm Gen
Sneakers
Z.
and Cleats, the podcast.
How are you Gen Z?
Gen X.
Gen X. Yeah, there you go. Gen Z is not right.
I thought I was a boomer.
Welcome back to the Sneakers and Cleats podcast. This is Monday, July 21st, even though I put July 21st on there. Episode
Start a new word.
213. You said you were Gen Z. You're not Gen Z. You're Gen X.
I'm Gen X.
Yeah, you're the same as
I thought I was a boomer. I am Gen X by 27 days.
You're both Gen X. No, you're technically a boomer because you're
He's a
older than he
boomer.
is, right? My mom is Gen X. She's just a little younger than both of you.
I'm in the Pepsi generation.
You're what?
Well played, Bob.
I will
Well,
say
Bob.
I'm a boomer through and through. I'm
All
proud. I'm a proud boomer, even though I'm Gen. I found out today.
Well, this boomer is Don Harris. That boomer is Chuck McGinnick. This millennial is Matt Roy. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4 Fox SA. Download, rate, read the podcast version wherever you get your podcasts. I have one word that will actively excite everybody in this room, and that word is football. Yes. It is back. Yes. And Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and Brian Schottenheimer having their opening press conference today as Cowboys camp is officially underway in Oxnard. We'll get into all the interesting parts of the press conference, which is why we pushed our podcast back by about 2 hours today, because the presser was at 1 o'clock and Jerry likes to stomp on my thunder and mess up my timing here.
He gave you content.
He did give me content, so I appreciate that. So we'll go through all the aspects of Cowboys presser, including the potential for this team. Tyler Smith calls it a Super Bowl team. What did Jerry have to say today? The latest on the Micah Parsons contract situation, which really took hold of the entire press conference today. The Cowboys brass choosing to give Trevon Diggs a leadership lesson. They talked a lot about that. Had some choice words for Trevon Diggs during the press conference today. And has Jerry thought about stepping down as GM? He was asked that. We will hear from him. Fleeting moments. I'll just say that. Fleeting moments. And all that, plus some interesting comments about Dak Prescott and his potential. So we'll get to all that. But like I said last time, I like the what zip code is this game? So 213, guys. 213 is the episode number. What zip code is what area?
LA.
It's easy.
Area code.
Yeah.
LA?
Easy one. Yeah.
Central LA. That
I
is
think
correct.
we looked that up last time because we were close to it.
212.
With
212 is
212.
New York City, Manhattan.
I want to know how that works. Like 212 is on a completely different coast than 213. Why does that? In my area code when I was a kid, and still my phone number is 760 is area code. That's also Southern California. So I don't know how all those things work.
That's Orange County.
It's no, it's Riverside. It's Palm Desert, Palm
Riverside.
Springs area.
Yeah, at some point they had to start making more area codes. So 213 kind of splintered off.
I didn't
Just like 210 had to splinter off into 41, whatever it is. Was it?
5-1. It was 512, and then
That's
it was
right.
210.
This is really a digression.
Wasn't it
Yes,
like
it
San
is.
Antonio 814 when you were growing up?
You're wa-
512.
Luis, are you saying you're watching me and just in case I spill my coffee on the All right, let's get to it. So the Cowboys opening training camp today in Oxnard. Opening thoughts of the hour-long press conference that we heard today from Jerry, Steven, and Brian. Chuck, we'll start with you.
Oh, I heard 512. I immediately thought of the song by Lamb of God, 512. But I digress.
Okay.
Jerry on the offensive a little bit, digging in, for
Pun
lack of
intended.
a better term, playing the tough guy today with the contracts. We all know how this turns out. Player gets paid, player gets overpaid. So I'm curious as anybody to see when this all comes together. Last year, I think to everybody's surprise, Dak's deal got done on opening Sunday for the Cowboys. So
God, I hope this doesn't go that long.
it just seems like it's the same thing in a lot of ways in terms of the rhetoric, playing hardball. You know, there's a reason why Micah isn't signed. So I'm sure they'll get there at some point, but we're not there just yet.
Isn't it easy now that TJ Watt's got his deal and that Myles Garrett's got their deal? Everybody's making 40, 41. Micah says he doesn't have to be the highest. Give him 41, give him 41 and $1 more, whatever.
40.01.
Well, I mean, whatever. But it's not, doesn't seem to be that hard to do.
I mean, they made, we'll get to the Micah stuff here in a sec, but they made some interesting comments about that because Steven was my takeaway from this. He seemed on the defensive or a little bit irritated about a couple of these things, especially about Micah, where he said it takes two to come up with the contract. So basically putting the onus on David Mulugeta. And then even when they were asking Jerry about which agents he's talked to Todd Branch in the past or any of those other ones, Steven steps in. He's like, he didn't talk to him.
Right. Yeah. He was talking about Todd France.
Todd France. Thank you. Sorry.
Yes. So I found that interesting too,
like,
right?
Steven kind of seemed defensive.
Well, I mean, because I think the question was asked, it made it appear as though the Cowboys, for whatever reason, weren't talking to Micah's Austin-based agent, David Mulugeta, who's one of the best in the business. But that was, I thought, a learning experience for all of us today, that Jerry didn't even talk to Todd France. I found that fascinating.
Yeah, apparently Jerry just doesn't talk to agents. He just talks to players, which isn't normal for the way that some of these things go. But I thought that was kind of – Steven also set the tone on the Diggs conversation. He was like, he didn't show up. He doesn't get the money. Like, that's just how this goes. It's in his contract.
It wasn't a punishment. They were clear to say it wasn't a punishment. It was
something they agreed upon.
Part of the deal.
It was a negotiation that they agreed upon on his contract.
Yeah, if you agree to this, then you get paid this money. If you don't do this, then you don't get that much money.
So I didn't cut it, but Tyler Smith kind of set the world on fire yesterday. Right when they show up to Oxnard, Tyler Smith, who I can't say enough good things about. Tyler Smith is fantastic with the media. He's always open for a comment. He's always ready to talk, which makes our jobs a hell of a lot easier. He opened up and he said that they have Super Bowl potential. Like, why wouldn't we aim to go to the Super Bowl? That's everyone's goal, which is clear. But then Jerry was asked about Tyler Smith's comments today. This is what Jerry had to say about it.
Tyler's one of the most intelligent guys in the NFL. And if he's thinking that way, I'll go right along with him. But I think that we've addressed many areas that bit us as I look at what last year was about. Y'all are going to ask about some of those, I'm sure, here today. But I think we've addressed them in a good way that will make us better. Having Dak under center is a good place to start to begin with.
Yeah, let's start right there, too. His biggest reason that he said today for why the Cowboys bottomed out last year and had the year that they had was because Dak was hurt. I don't know if you can just chalk it up to that. They were 3-5 with Dak. They weren't playing
3-6.
I'm sorry?
3-5 or 3-6?
They were 3-5. They were 3-6 after that game that he got hurt. Like, if you include the Falcon game in which he got hurt, then they were 3-6.
Okay.
They were 3-5 without Dak. Or with Dak.
With Dak.
I don't know if you can't chalk up all the issues that the team had last year to Dak being healthy. Everything's going to be fine. Hoorah. Like, that's just not – those two things don't add up together, Chuck.
I'm with you. I mean, I think that's an easy way out, right? That's an easy way to make an excuse that we ended up with our record because our star quarterback was out. I think you're right. They weren't playing well when Dak went down. Nobody was playing well when Dak went down. So, I'm kind of with you on that one. I think it was nuanced, right? They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't block. They couldn't do a lot of things. They didn't have any way to draw attention away from 88.
They couldn't stop anybody either.
Had a hard time stopping people, right? We could go right down the list. But I think that's an easy excuse for what happened last year. But I think, to Jerry's point, they did do a lot to address what they needed to do in order to get better in the off season. But is that Super Bowl worthy? No, that's a tall order right there as we sit here today.
Yeah, I think they got better. I'm always I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm not.
Except for like 2 years ago when you drank the Kool-Aid.
What do you mean 2 years ago? I said they were going to win the Super Bowl.
I'm buying in on this team 2 years ago when we first started the pod. The first year we had the podcast, you were like,
okay.
I'm buying in.
Well, he wasn't that far away. I mean, that was
the year they lost to the Packers. So
yeah,
7-10.
And where'd they go?
I forget.
7-10. And so, no, what I'm saying is maybe when I drank the Kool-Aid, that taught me never to do it again, and I didn't last year. I'm tempted to this year because of the moves that they made in the offseason. And I think they've improved their football team. But after hearing Jerry and Tyler Smith and all these people today talking about Super Bowl, I think that's absolutely unrealistic. I think they're going to be an improved football team. I think they're going to be a little better than 500. They might make the playoffs, but they're nowhere near a Super Bowl contender. I don't think. And if Dak Prescott goes out and just is unbelievable, and these guys like Kenneth Murray, Solomon Thomas, and the defense, they're starting off with at least one of their star corners out.
Trevon won't be healthy to start the year.
And Overshown, who was so good last year when healthy, is going to be out. So I think they're a much improved football team, talent-wise. I think they have a huge question unanswered on whether or not Schotty can call plays and handle that, and head coaching and time management and all that. That's going to be something to watch. But I think they'll be better. But I think Super Bowl is absolutely ridiculous.
I think their win total right now is sitting at 8.5. And I think a lot of people are really down on the Cowboys for a good reason, because last year they didn't do anything to help their team, and it showed. They didn't have a lot of depth. Dak got hurt. They didn't have a lot of people behind him. Their offensive line, self-admittedly, did not have a good year. Terrence had a bad year. Tyler Guyton didn't show up the as fast as they wanted him to. He's got to improve. But coming into this season, I think the tempered expectations are going a little too far in the other direction now, whereas last year you're coming off this wildly successful 12-5 season, and you're coming in and you're like, we're just going to run it back with the same team that we had before, because that's the team that got us to 12-5, and we were trying to get back from this Packers debacle, them coming into AT&T and destroying us with a rookie quarterback, or a first-year starting quarterback. He wasn't a rookie at that point. But
didn't everybody see that other than Jerry and Steven?
But everybody saw the expectation was 12-5, and we're going to go further than we were last year with the same exact team. This year, it's okay. You were 7-10 last year. Your expectation now is people are expecting you to go 8-9, 9-8. I think they surpassed that, but it's going to be there still is a lot of question marks, and especially on the roster, which we'll get into over the next month or so when it comes to how the cornerback room is going to play out. Is there enough depth there with Kyer Elam and with Kalen Carson and with all the guys that they've stepped up? Is Deron Bland going to not get played or beat like a freaking drum against guys like Jamar Chase again, like he did against the Bengals?
Was he a one-hit wonder?
That it's starting to look that way. Bland has a lot to prove in a contract year this year. I mean, he is, and like I said, we're gonna have a lot of time to talk about that. Is this a Super Bowl team? In the AFC, I would say absolutely not. In the NFC, you have a little bit more room. There's not a world-beating team in the West. I wouldn't want to be in the NFC North. That's a juggernaut of a division, especially now that the Bears are going to be looking to be better. The East, the jury's still out on the Commanders right now. The Giants are bad. The Eagles, you can't get much better than they were last year, so they're probably going to take a step back.
Yeah.
So, you have and the South sucks. So, you have a lot of teams that you can be better than if you're a little bit better in the NFC.
And I think that has to be the focus, right? Because we all know if you handle your business and you win your division, you're hosting a playoff game. So if you can get to the tournament and you're hosting, you're certainly putting yourself in a very good spot to make the quote-unquote deep postseason run, which we all know if you win one playoff game and you've got the best playoff record, if you have the best record and you win a playoff game, you're in a pretty good spot to get to the Super Bowl.
Now, I think we all agree that the Cowboys aren't going to go anywhere if Micah Parsons isn't on the field. Their defense hinges on him getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing turnovers that the ball-hawking secondary can pick off. Right now, he's there. They wouldn't say if he's going to practice or not. I would doubt that he's going to practice tomorrow. But when it comes to the contract, that held up probably 40% of the conversation in this hour-long press conference today. So let's hear from Jerry on the contract status of Micah Parsons.
Of all of the people that I've sat down with as a player, of all the players that I've ever negotiated with, Michael Parsons is as savvy and knowledgeable and understanding of his financial business relative to football as any player I've ever been around.
John.
Now, he's smart. Not at all. We do, and I don't mean this, I have things undone, dangling participles. I bet I have 20 of them every day. in some pretty serious areas. You can't have it all done at the same time. It doesn't work that way. And so this is just a part of it. We've got, again, I want to mention that we're here with everybody under contract. 2 years ago, we were here, and I think Zach Martin wasn't here. You had a situation, although we had a contract, so you worked through that. I was looking at this documentary, and it spent some time going back in the Emmitt Smith negotiation and what was going on there. There's nothing new about what we're talking about here today relative to contracts. That's been going on a long time. Now, if you say, well, if you don't get him in, are you going to lose the first 2 games and then go on to win the Super Bowl? Well, we'll take that.
2 things. I should have put a counter on the amount of times he mentioned the Netflix documentary. It was at least 5.
6.
Yeah.
Sell, baby.
Dude, at least 5 or 6 times he was like, I was looking back at that documentary, and oh boy, and he just kept mentioning it. I was like, oh my God, just keep selling.
All while telling us he doesn't think about the past.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing was regarding the Micah stuff. Micah is a very smart guy. Like he obviously Michael. Yeah, Micah.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Parsons.
His alter ego.
Very smart guy who obviously thinks about his future off the field, which is why he has his podcast and all that stuff. So he's very smart, business savviness. And I think that Jerry and Steven have a healthy respect for Michael and how he handles his business. There's no effing way this goes 2 games into the season.
No.
God, I hope not. And I hope it's not on opening day either. I don't want that again. It's supposed to be, and arguably, you look back at that, the story becomes Dak's contract because he's the highest paid guy in the league. And that was arguably the Cowboys' best performance of the year last year at Cleveland. And so that stuff gets overshadowed if you don't. Right. But I mean, as long as you handle your business, handle these things now. I mean, I think that would be the hope for most of us, is that so this doesn't become a lingering distraction, a daily thing because he's not out on the practice field.
To be fair, that was before we knew Cleveland was Cleveland last year.
Well, I think that was before Cleveland was going to be Cleveland.
I think that was before Cleveland knew that they were Cleveland
Well,
last
at least
year.
we're healthy.
Sorry, Bob.
Jerry has had this long time, I don't know if it's a rule or a way of doing things going all the way back to Austin, especially with undrafted free agents and lower round draft picks, that he thinks works on big name players, and it doesn't. The big name player, correct me if I'm wrong, always wins the negotiation with Jerry. They always get their money.
It seems to be a recent trend that everybody gets their money when it comes to holding out.
No,
But the old Jerry, or I remember Dexter Coakley and people like that who were at training camp in their dorm room, just waiting for their agent to call them and say, yes, go get out there. Like, we got it done. They would show up and they would report. Jerry, in my mind, is banking on Micah because Micah's a good guy. Micah wants to lead. Micah's all in. Jerry's taking advantage of his better angels, knowing that he's going to come and show, just like he did for all the OTAs, get in shorts. And you know what he did? We saw it in OTAs. He was in shorts. He wasn't participating, and he was watching drills, and somebody wasn't doing it right. So he jumped in and he went all out for 2 plays. That's when the, non-contact ACL happens. So is Micah going to fold? Jerry's banking on Micah calling his agent and saying, where are we? 5 days into camp. They're still at 38.5 and you want 42 million. Take the 38.5. I don't care. I want to play. That's what Jerry's thinking Micah's going to do, but he's not. Dak didn't, CD didn't. And so I think Micah wins, and I think it's 2 or 3 weeks into camp.
Let me ask you this. What is more likely out of these 2 options? What's more likely, that this deal is done within the next week? So by the time we sit here next Monday, well, you guys sit here next Monday. I won't be here. But what's more likely, that it happens in the next week or that it happens in the week before the season starts?
It's closer to next week than the week before the season starts, but I don't think it's either. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks.
It's spitballing at this point, right? The way things have gone recently, this gets done closer to the end of the regular season or the end of the training camp.
I think this gets done before the weekend.
Oh, I hope you're right.
I think it happens.
I think
this week.
Cowboy fans would hope you're right.
It
I
should.
think everyone hopes that I'm right, but
Everybody's money's out there.
I do love being right.
We all do.
I'm not often, but if you ask my wife, I'm never right. But I think it really gets done this week. They spoke a little bit about things that tend to happen when everyone's together in training camp and when everyone's together in Oxnard, and you can get those face-to-face meetings and all that stuff. And I have that image burned in my brain of Jerry talking to Micah for 40 minutes, 30 minutes during practice, during mandatory mini camps. Like, they do seem to have a good, respectful relationship with one another. And I don't think that either of them, yes, it's business, but I don't think either of them are going to squeeze the other one to the extent to where that's going to be strained. So I think if either of them come at least moderately close to what the other person wants, and there is some sort of compromise in the middle, that they'll be able to put those things away. But we have heard a little bit of disgruntledness from Steven today, saying it takes two. From Micah on the podcast with The Undertaker last week, saying, which is just a weird sentence to say, on the podcast with The Undertaker last week, saying it's up to management. So, like, they're each pointing fingers at one another. When does it get done is up for interpretation, but I think we all know it's going to get done. They're not going to go to the season, or they're not going to go long into the season at least without Micah Parsons.
They're not going to play a game without Micah Parsons.
Yeah. I thought it was weird today that somebody threw out that Micah had missed 6 games last year. Was it Jerry?
Jerry threw that out.
It was only 4.
But
So,
Jerry threw out well, that also gets to
because
another.
Micah doesn't miss games. As bad as they were last year, he's got a high ankle sprain. I would imagine if that would have been a playoff game, Micah Parsons' ass would have been out there.
But that gets to another point where he said, and I didn't cut the bite. I probably should have. When they were throwing around getting things done early, some guys like to get done early, Terrence Steele and Trevon Diggs. And then Jerry was like,
threw him under the bus.
yeah, he was like, if you had to do those early now, would you? You don't know. And so he sounded like remorseful that he signed Terrence Steele and Trevon Diggs to those long-term deals.
He did. And after he signed them, they both went out and had history-making worst seasons of their careers.
Well, Trevon got hurt. Trevon's been hurt. It seems like Trevon's been hurt ever since he signed that deal.
Yeah.
Which, for the most part, he has
and
been.
Steele was coming off a huge injury too. So,
but it gives you a little bit of insight.
Yeah.
It sounds like Jerry is very gun shy when it comes to pulling triggers on these huge deals.
Look what he did with Dak.
And he has to make sure that there is not 1 ounce of doubt in his mind that this player is going to live up to the expectation, be the leader that they want them to lead by, and how they want them to lead, and be worth the money that they're going to be paid.
He was 100% assured that with Dak, or he wouldn't have made him the highest NFL player ever. And then he goes out, goes 3-6, and then gets hurt. And that's not Dak's fault. But what Jerry's saying is, you can't protect yourself from any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he does this seemingly in recent memory every year. Remember when Zach Martin was holding out? He's got a contract. We've already paid him.
And
He's already gotten his bag. He's gotten a couple bags, whatever it was. And yet, at the end of the day, he paid Zach Martin because he was afraid that was going to be the linchpin to bring down the house of cards, because Jerry was thinking that was the squad that was going to win the Super Bowl.
Well, talking about guys that are not going to get paid at least $500,000 is Trevon Diggs. Trevon Diggs not going to make his $500,000 bonus, which he needed to be at 84% of offseason activities to do. He's rehabbing his injury, chose to do that in Florida. And the Joneses had some strong words for his lack of leadership over the course of this summer. So let's hear from them.
We expect a player paid like Trevon to be here all the time. We expect him to be leading. We expect him to be leading. No, he didn't earn it. He didn't come. That's in his contract that he doesn't get that unless he's going to be here. And think about it a minute. Do you have to go to work? and show up, all that kind of stuff. Of course you do. We all do. And bottom line is that those are contractual things, as Stephen said, and it would be very detrimental to the team not to abide by the agreement. You've got you got a dynamic going on. You've got 10%, 12% of your people making 2/3 of the money. And so it's incumbent upon that group right there to walk and lead. Walk and lead. And it covers a lot of ground, what that is, to make that work. And this is all a part of it to make it happen. But that's not that's nothing new. I've talked to people all over the league, and that's what you've got. You've certainly got players that are going to make more money than other players make, and but they've got to wear it.
I disagree with a lot of things that Jerry says, but this one I don't at all. If you're a leader, if you're making top 5 money on your team, you have to be there and you have to be a leader on the team.
100.
That's
no brainer.
Yeah, that's just them sending a message to Trevon to be like, step up or get out, is pretty much how I took that. Is pretty apt for how they're handling that situation. One other thing I wanted to say about Micah, just because it just popped up. So a lot of people tweeting and posting on X about the press conference today and things that Jerry said. Someone took that shot that Jerry took at Micah Parsons, saying even if they sign him, doesn't mean they'll have him. He was hurt for 6 games. He was actually hurt for 4 games. JJ Watt quote tweeting that and saying, anytime you can publicly take a dig at your star quarterback and your star pass rusher simultaneously right before the season begins, you just got to take it. Nothing makes guys want to fight for you more than hearing how upset you are while they got hurt while fighting for you. And then Micah Parsons retweeting that. So that is a good little twist there, that Micah did not appreciate what Jerry, it seems like at least, that Jerry, he did not appreciate what Jerry said about all that stuff. So maybe
Micah hears everything.
Well, yeah, he's on social more than
he heard
more than anybody I know.
Jerry was saying, I don't know the agent and all that. Micah took to the airwaves to correct that.
Yeah. Someone also, Jerry made a couple of like brief comments about him thinking about stepping away from as a GM. So someone asked him about it. Ducey asked him about it at the end, and I cut this down to about 25 seconds. He went on for 4.5 minutes after someone asked, are you actually thinking about that? What have those thoughts looked like? Things like that. So this is what Jerry said when he was asked about potentially thinking about stepping down as GM.
Why did you talk yourself off that ledge?
Well, I didn't have any trouble talking it off because
Restart that, Luis.
Those were obviously yes.
There you go.
Momentary.
How long a moment?
Now we're getting down to it. Small fractions of seconds. I promise you that.
Why did you talk yourself off that ledge?
Well, I didn't have any trouble talking it off because those were obviously painful moments when I would be thinking like that.
My favorite part of that is that you can see. So our photographer there, Jack Green, is on a platform, and he's very good at not moving while on the platform. But I know he was laughing at that because I can tell that the shot moves a little bit. So that's my favorite part of that. But anyway, he also added that the collaboration between his front office and between Steven and guys like Will McClay and everything makes his job as GM easier. But it's interesting to me that he's at least pondering it for fractions of seconds.
I think Cowboys fans should take heed that Will McClay's the GM of this team. I mean, Jerry has the title. Jerry makes the final calls just like any owner would. But if you're going to kill yourself, then think that Jerry Jones is in the film room at 2:00 in the morning looking over the 4 different guys we might take in the 6th round. I think he's briefed on it, but I think Will McClay is the GM, and I think that's why they've drafted so well. And when it's bad, everybody wants to blame Jerry because he fired Tom Landry and all of that.
And fired Jimmy, basically.
He likes the title, but I don't for a second think that he's doing the really dirty work that it's required hundreds of hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I talked to an agent within the last 5 years or so. And I brought up Steven and taking the mantle, and the agent put me right in my place. And he said, you guys got it all wrong. Jerry still got the hammer. It's still Jerry. It's still Jerry. It's still Jerry.
Yeah, I
So,
believe that.
But here's the thing. Like,
I mean, but yeah, he's not doing it all himself.
Right.
He's not the guy, but he's also, I mean, I shouldn't say this. He still goes to the Senior Bowl. He doesn't miss those. I mean, he can't do it all. Obviously, there's not enough hours in the day for as big of a corporation as he's running. But, to say that he still doesn't have the hammer, or he's not giving everybody in the room direction and he's just kind of filling in here and there, I don't believe that, not for 2 seconds.
But here's a question for you. If he took away his title as GM and was just the owner, nothing would change. He would still sit in the draft room. He would still make the final decision. They would still have to run it by him about who they're going to draft in the first, second, and third round. Maybe he doesn't sign off on 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th round picks at that point. Maybe he doesn't sign off on undrafted free agents at that point. But if you take away the GM title, he is still going to make all the final calls. But it would also shield him kind of from the criticism that he receives as being the GM of this team. But I think he likes it.
He likes every part of it.
He loves it.
I mean, I think he likes the attention. I don't know that anybody likes that. I mean, I think he probably has learned to deal with a lot of this at this point. But, I think there's a collaborative effort going on at the Cowboys. It's not just
right. Well, that's
Jerry, saying this is what we're going to do. Like, if you got 4 people that are in on one guy at the draft and there's 3 that don't, I'm pretty sure that Jerry's going to acquiesce to the 4 other guys that he trusts in the room to say, okay, we're going with this guy because that's where the consensus is.
And you've heard a couple of stories from Steven, and even Steven today saying, I talk to agents. He doesn't talk to any agents. That's my job.
We saw it in the war rooms. We saw it when they drafted the
No,
Nepo baby.
when they drafted the Nepo baby. When they drafted
the kid from Kansas State.
Oh, Deuce Vaughn?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
his dad's in the room.
It's a 7th round pick.
I know, but what I'm saying is you saw the collaboration of where do you think we should go here? And they were discussing it all.
Damn, such a dig at Deuce Vaughn. What did he ever do to you?
I'm just saying. His dad was in the
But
room.
no, I was going to say with Steven, there was an interview he was doing. I can't remember where I saw it, and so I apologize. I'm not going to credit where this was done at, but he was talking about when they took Zach Martin over
Johnny
Manziel, and how everybody in the room wanted Zach Martin and not Johnny Manziel. The only person in there was Jerry who wanted Johnny, and nobody would tell him no. And so then Steven is the one that kind of pulls the gun out of his hands and says, we're taking Zach Martin. Everybody wants to take Zach Martin. You're the only one here that wants to take Johnny. And then he tells that Jerry says, you're never going to make it in this league if you can't make the big decisions. And he walks out. And then he comes back in and says, I'm sorry, I overreacted, and gives him a hug and says it was a good pick. And everybody in the room looks at Steven and says, thank you. We didn't want Johnny.
Well, as the legend goes, Steven pushed Jerry up against a wall.
Yeah, I mean, there was that, but that's what I'm saying. It's not like Jerry is over everyone with like pulling the Pinocchio strings on these puppets. He is along with them in the fights to make the team better. So even if he doesn't step away as GM, nothing really changes, even if he does, because it's going to stay the exact same formula as they have right now. So that's why it's not a huge deal, I don't think. But I mean, him saying that he's thought about it is interesting, and nonetheless, because he doesn't seem like someone who thinks about stepping away from his role very often.
Well, I mean, he is 82 years old. I mean, at some point, it's going to cross his mind, I would think, and cross more than his mind than a nanosecond.
Yes, Bob.
So let's say that you could be head coach for any team in the NFL, but you had to base it on the owner. What team would you pick?
I'm going to take the Broncos out of this because they have $50 billion and they're actually really good owners. So you guys tell me first, and I think, because the Broncos would be my first choice, but
It'd have to be the Packers, right? Because you technically don't have an owner.
you don't have a boss. You technically have 1 million owners,
but nobody that you have to directly answer to.
I guess. So
I guess my question really is who's the best owner in the NFL? Who does it right?
that's a good question.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, it's hard to answer like on many levels because it's like, they do those
you
player
have to say that,
polls.
you have to say that Robert Kraft does it pretty well.
I mean, you would have to think like, what are your criteria? I think
Yep.
because like the Penners in Denver are putting a lot of money into them. They're building a new $500 million practice facility. They're looking at building a new stadium in Denver. They're giving them all the tools to succeed. They're paying Russell Wilson's buyout. They're doing all those things and trying to give everyone the tools. But then you look at somebody like Jerry Jones, who has run and has turned his team into the biggest brand in all of football. Like, what's important to you? Are Super Bowls important? Okay, well then Robert Kraft is doing a great job. Are Super Bowls important to you? Then Stan Kroenke is doing a fantastic job.
Right. Or if you look at those player portfolio things that they do where
You rank all those.
they have the players, that rank the training staffs and all that.
Yeah, where the Cardinals
Texans
historically
rank
fail.
right up there because they've got the most amount of trainers or whoever it may be. I mean, so yeah, I think it's layered. I don't think there's any one perfect, but ultimately, if you don't have to work for any owner that's going to be breathing down your neck every day, I would say it's got to be the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go with
Community
like
owned.
the Pagulas are good owners in Buffalo. I mean, there's a lot of really good owners. Depends on the criteria. I don't know if anyone wants to work for the Haslams, but
Well, he does spend a lot of money.
on the wrong guys.
Well, I mean, they're spending a ton of money.
Any questions in the chat or anything?
Well, I just want to remind you all that Tom Guerrero was in the house,
Hello, Tom.
Shout out Tommy G.
and he said we should be used to this by Jerry Jones. Happens every year.
Yeah.
I
Well
think
said.
we had the exact same podcast last year when it was CeeDee Lamb instead of Micah. So
The Kool-Aid is been served. Will you drink it or will you pass? But he definitely poured it and handed it to us all today.
I mean, and I appreciate it. So, that it, Bob?
Yep.
All right. That is all we got for you today. We're going to have another month when's opening day? About 5 weeks from now. We got 5 weeks until the opening game of the NFL playoffs. About 5 weeks and 3 days, I think. 40 days-ish
From opening day.
until Cowboys Eagles on opening night. That's going to be a hell of a game, too. In
Mhm.
Philadelphia. I can't wait.
How many days?
38, I want to say.
Wow.
I'm probably a couple days off on that. But anyway, we're going to have a lot of Cowboys talk, a lot of Spurs talk. It's quick before we get out of here. Do you think they're going to sign David Jones-Garcia or no?
I don't.
You don't think they're going to sign him? Wow.
I think somebody else signs him.
That's something. All right, we'll talk more about that on Thursday. Hopefully there's a decision made by the Spurs on David Jones-Garcia. Or maybe he's going to be playing for a Greek team. Who knows? They made him an offer today.
He turned it down.
Well, you won't be playing for a Greek team then. Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Be back on Thursday. See you then.